The cold grand tutor is my crush, but I'd rather ditch this romance. Xingzhou, the icy and aloof grand tutor, was the object of my affections. We'd been childhood sweethearts, but right before I could confess my love, I had a nightmare. In the dream, I was the vicious female antagonist. The female lead was a healer who'd saved Xingzhou's life. Consumed by jealousy, I framed the healer for unspeakable crimes, and Xingzhou, defending his beloved, destroyed my entire family. Forget this romance, not worth it. Made up my mind, I agreed to accompany mother to all the banquets to check out eligible young lords, who knew I'd run straight into him. Xingzhou's face was as dark as storm clouds. Are you in such a hurry to marry someone? Panicked, I stammered. Yes. Now scram and stop getting in the way of my hunt for a handsome fiancé. But my wrist was suddenly clamped in his iron grip. A suspicious flush crept up Xingzhou's ears. He stared at me intently. If those random lords are good enough for you, then why not me? I jolted awake, my back soaked in cold sweat. The memory of my family's tragic execution in the dream sent a shiver down my spine. Tsuetsue, light the lamp. Tsuetsue was my personal maid. Hearing my urgent call, she rushed over from the side room and lit the candle on the table. Did you have a nightmare, miss? Shall I fetch you a calming tonic? Nodding frantically, I poured myself several cups of cold tea and chugged them down in one go. Nightmare didn't even begin to describe it, it was pure hell. Only in that dream did I realize this world was actually a sickly sweet romance novel. Unfortunately for me, I was just the villainess in it, and my childhood sweetheart Xingzhou, he was the male protagonist. According to the plot, Xingzhou had been ambushed by bandits on an official trip and gravely injured, left for dead. He was rescued by a kind-hearted healer living in the mountains. He fell head over heels for her beauty and virtue. As for me, driven mad by jealousy, I repeatedly plotted against the healer. Eventually, Xingzhou had enough. He fabricated charges of colluding with enemy states against my father. The entire Luo clan was beheaded for treason. In the end, the hero and heroine lived happily ever after. It was terrifying. Just because I loved Xingzhou, my whole family had to pay with their lives. I swore I'd never love him again. Lost in the horrifying details of the dream, I was jolted back to reality by Tsuetsue's amused voice. Tomorrow you're going to confess your feelings to Grand Tutor Shen. No wonder you're too excited to sleep. Oh no, I'd completely forgotten I'd planned to confess to Xingzhou tomorrow. Worse, I'd already sent him an invitation to meet. Xingzhou was returning to the capital from his trip. He must have brought the healer back with him. I could already picture his disgusted face when I told him I loved him. He and his beloved would be so happy together. What was I even thinking? Sticking my nose in their business. Tomorrow, when you go to see the Grand Tutor, tell him I'm ill and can't make it, I ordered Tsuetsue. Tsuetsue looked utterly confused. Despite being the youngest Grand Tutor in the court, Xingzhou was far from approachable. But I'd never called him by his official title, always Brother Shen or simply Brother. Before Tsuetsue could ask more questions, I dove under the covers and pulled them over my head. The candle was blown out, leaving the room in dimness. My heart felt heavy, and I couldn't help but feel wronged and frustrated. Why did loving Xingzhou have to be such a heinous crime? Besides, I would never do those terrible things in the dream. Would I really stoop so low as to bully another girl just for a man? Forget it, it was too late for regrets now. I just needed to stay far away from Xingzhou from now on. Love could never compare to the safety of my family. Actually, part of the reason I'd been so eager to confess to Xingzhou was that I'd reached marriageable age. I'd been afraid my parents would arrange a marriage for me with someone I didn't know, so I'd hoped Xingzhou would propose first. But now, forget that plan. I'd just obediently go to those banquets with mother and pick a decent husband. Sniff. My love story was over before it even started. The next day, mother sent word that she was taking me to the Ministry of Rites Minister's Lotus Feast. The Jin dynasty had a relatively open atmosphere, where men and women could sit together at banquets. In truth, most of these fancy parties were just excuses for families to scout out potential spouses for their children. It was sweltering hot, so I wore a lotus pink gauze dress and held a silk fan in my hand. I stood by the lotus pond, feeding the fish. I'd sent Suetsue to stall Shinshingzhou, so only 2 young maids accompanied me. Mother noticed I looked listless and said gently, "Your little friends are here. If you're bored, go play with them." Looking up, I saw 3 or 4 lovely young ladies walking across the arched bridge on the other side of the pond, heading my way. They were all daughters of officials, and we often spent time together. The closest to me was Li Shu, the daughter of the Ministry of Revenue Minister. After greeting Li Shu and the others, we found a pavilion to chat in. Somehow, our conversation drifted to the topic of marriage. Among the group, only Li Shu was betrothed, so we all teased her mercilessly. Her cheeks turned bright red, and she playfully punched each of us with her small fists. The atmosphere was light and cheerful, but I couldn't help thinking of Shinshingzhou. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't envious of Li Shu. She was marrying the young general she loved. But Shinshingzhou and I were never meant to be. Enough of this moping. Resting my chin on my hand, I gazed into the distance only to spot a familiar figure through the sea of lotus leaves. "Hey, look, Grand Tutor Shen is here too," Li Shu exclaimed, winking at me meaningfully. Why was he here? Cold sweat broke out on my back. I just sent word that I was too sick to meet him, and now he'd caught me red-handed at a banquet. I quickly ducked my head, pretending I hadn't seen him. Grand Tutor Shen always prefers quiet places and never attends banquets. What's brought him here today? One of the girls wondered aloud. Wait a minute, there's a woman with him. My curiosity piqued. I craned my neck to look again. Sure enough, standing beside him was a woman with an elegant and refined air. She carried a medicine box slung over her shoulder. Her clothes were plain, but her graceful demeanor made her stand out from the crowd. Shinshingzhou was always so cold and detached. But there was a faint, soft smile on his face as he stood beside her. This had to be the female lead for sure. It was obvious Shinshingzhou already had a soft spot for her. I quickly looked away, but Li Shu sidled up to me and whispered in my ear, "How dare Shinshingzhou fool around with another woman like that?" I hastily pulled her back, my voice tinged with sadness and resignation. "Stop it, he doesn't even know I like him. Besides, who he chooses to be with is none of our business." Li Shu poked my forehead lightly. "Your crush on him is so obvious, how could he not know? Maybe you two really aren't destined to be together. Oh well, there are plenty of other good men out there. What do you think of my younger brother?" We gossiped for a while longer before the feast officially began. Of all the bad luck in the world, my seat was placed directly opposite Shinshingzhou's. His cold, piercing gaze swept over me. My hand trembled as I lifted my wine cup, and I quickly lowered my eyes, pretending not to notice him. I sipped my wine quietly, my mind racing. Strangely enough, the female lead Fang Wn wasn't at the table, but just then, the minister's elderly mother walked over, beaming, leading Fang Wn by the hand. The old lady had trouble walking and rarely made public appearances. Seeing her looking so energetic today, everyone rushed to offer their congratulations and good wishes. The old lady patted Fang Wan's hand fondly. "It's all thanks to her, Grand Tutor Shen. I'm so grateful you recommended her to me. After just a few acupuncture sessions from Divine Physician Fang, my leg doesn't hurt anymore." As expected of the female lead, she'd earned the title of Divine Physician as soon as she showed up. And that wasn't all. In a few days, Fang Wn would be adopted as a goddaughter by the eldest princess and become a princess herself. Everything was unfolding exactly as it had in my dream. I thought to myself, lost in my own thoughts. Suddenly, I felt a pair of eyes staring at me. Looking up, I locked eyes with Shinshingzhou. I flinched and immediately averted my gaze. Oh no, if the female lead thought I was trying to seduce Shinshingzhou and cause trouble between them, she'd definitely target me first. Wait a minute, Shinshingzhou looked really pale. His injuries from the ambush must not have fully healed yet. Everyone else at the feast was enjoying themselves, but I was on tenterhooks the entire time. As soon as the banquet was almost over, I quickly excused myself, claiming I wasn't feeling well, and took my leave from the minister's wife. I was desperate to avoid running into Shinshingzhou. Mother told me to go ahead, since she was also curious about the famous Divine Physician Fang and wanted to ask her to feel her pulse. "Miss Luo, my elder sister is going to stay at a small courtyard in the mountains in a few days. Will you come with us?" Just as I reached my family's carriage, Li Shu's younger brother Li Heng rode up on his horse. The siblings were extremely close, so he must have come to pick Li Shu up. The young man was lively and handsome, with delicate features that resembled Li Shu's. He and Li Shu's fiancée, the young general, were the two most popular bachelors among the noble ladies in the capital. As for Shen Xingzhou, while he was breathtakingly handsome, his icy, unapproachable demeanor made him hard to get close to. I'd been the only one foolish enough to cling to him relentlessly. Now, though, I'd finally hit a dead end. Your sister asked me the same thing earlier. I'll go if she sends me an invitation, I replied with a faint smile, as I stepped up into the carriage. My foot slipped. Li Heng reacted quickly and steadied me with a hand. Tiche. Before I could finish saying thank you, I saw Shen Xingzhou standing not far away, watching us. Grand Tutor. Li Heng greeted him cheerfully. After being appointed Grand Tutor, Shen Xingzhou had also taught classes at the Imperial Academy. In a way, Li Heng was his student. Oh right, I was his student too. In the Jin dynasty, both men and women were allowed to attend the academy. Grand Tutor, I greeted him politely. Keeping my head bowed, Shen Xingzhou's already stern expression darkened even further. He coughed lightly and said coldly, "Since when have you become so polite?" His words sent a chill down my spine, probably because I used to call him brother all the time, and he'd grown sick of it. Of course he would prefer a gentle, virtuous woman like Fang Wn over a troublemaker like me. You're right, sir. I was wrong to be so casual in the past. From now on, I'll be more respectful and abide by the rules. I replied stiffly. For some reason, my words seemed to make Shen Xingzhou's mood even worse. His face was thunderous. Just then, Fang Wn walked over, carrying her medicine box. Lord Shen, thank you for recommending me to the old lady today, she said with a soft smile. Shen Xingzhou's expression softened slightly when he looked at her. You're welcome. Watching them exchange such warm pleasantries made my heart ache. I quickly took the chance to bid them farewell. Before I left, Li Heng called out, "My sister will send the invitation tomorrow. Don't forget to prepare, Miss Luo." "I won't. Farewell." I climbed into the carriage and sighed in relief, but I never could have imagined that Shen Xingzhou would show up at my house that very night. The Luo mansion, residence of the Marquis of Loyalty and Righteousness. I'd only eaten some lotus root starch for dinner before sitting on the swing in the courtyard, lost in thought. "Why did you stand me up today?" Shen Xingzhou's voice came from behind, making me nearly fall off the swing. He reached out and steadied the ropes for me. "What are you doing here, Grand Tutor? I told your mother I'd come to ask about your studies, so she had someone lead me here. Truly a dedicated teacher." And, he suddenly added, "Why did you start calling me Grand Tutor all of a sudden? I just said I'd been foolish before and wouldn't be anymore." Then I fetched the essay he'd assigned me before he left the capital and handed it to him. He held the paper in his hand, still pressing the question, "What illness did you have? Why did he look so concerned about me?" I thought back to the dream, him ordering the execution of my parents, him holding Fang Wn tightly in his arms. A sharp pain pierced my heart. I had to stay away from this disaster. "I actually wanted to ask you," my mind raced. "I wanted to ask which young lords are talented and promising. I've reached marriageable age. Qingzi sees you as an elder brother and hopes you can help me look around." My voice faded to a whisper by the end. Shen Xingzhou's lips pressed into a thin line, his expression dark and dangerous. His already pale face turned even grayer. "Go on," he gritted out. "Later." I thought it wasn't appropriate, so I decided to go with my mother to see for myself. I admired my ability to lie on the spot. "And you?" Shen Xingzhou took a step closer, his eyes fixed on me as if he wanted to devour me whole. "Who have you taken a fancy to, Li Heng, or someone else?" "Me. I haven't decided yet." It was the middle of the night. Why wasn't he at his mansion accompanying Fang Wan? I didn't want to cause a misunderstanding. In the end, I'd be the one to suffer. "You're at an age where you should focus on your studies and career." He suddenly changed the subject. "How much have you actually studied? The exam for female officials is approaching. Are you confident you can top it?" When I shook my head, he looked at me with disappointment. "If that's the case, how can you still be thinking about getting married?" After saying the last word, he stood up and pointed out numerous flaws in my essay. Then he summed up. I think you should stop fooling around and focus on studying at home. With that, Shen Xingzhou turned and left, so he was only angry that I'd neglected my studies. I really had been studying hard, he just never noticed my efforts. Did he think everyone was a genius like him? Oh no, if he complained to my mother, I'd definitely be grounded. I was so pitiful. I'd lost my love and my freedom to have fun, after estimating that Shen Xingzhou had left the Luo mansion. I ran to my mother and acted coquettishly. Mother, I was about to beg her not to ground me, but to my surprise, she smiled and patted my head. Xingzhou praised your essay. Qingzi, mother is so happy. When your father comes back, I'll show it to him too. I was confused. Shen Xingzhou had just said my essay was terrible. How could he have praised me in front of my mother? But my mother's smile looked genuine, not forced. She then pointed to a red sandalwood box on the table. He brought you this souvenir from his official trip. He said it's a little clay trinket. I opened it dazedly and saw a delicate porcelain doll neatly placed inside. The doll wore a pink ruchuan, with a round, smiling face and a bunch of lotus flowers in its arms. Mother examined it for a moment and nodded. It's naive and cute, it'll be fun to put in your room. Then she sighed. You and Grand Tutor Shen grew up together. Your father and I had hoped to form an alliance with the Shen family through marriage, but that boy is truly outstanding. In the future, he might even marry a princess. Our mansion is probably not good enough for him. The title of Marquis of Loyalty and Righteousness sounded impressive, but after being passed down for several generations, by my father's time, our family was already on the fringes of court power. I stroked the cool face of the porcelain doll and made up my mind. Mother, I'll study hard. I'll try to pass the female official exam this time and bring honor to you and father. Mother gently flicked my nose and laughed. Silly girl, honor doesn't matter. Just do what you like. What wonderful parents. If I really ruined their lives just for pursuing Shen Xingzhou, I'd deserve to die. So I pushed the wooden box back to my mother. I don't like this. Mother, you can dispose of it. It was a lie. I actually liked it very much. But I didn't dare to like anything related to him anymore. Once, I was like Shen Xingzhou's shadow, always wanting to be with him every moment. Back then, he wasn't the grand tutor yet, just my neighbor brother. Sometimes when he had to go out and I couldn't follow, I'd be unhappy. Even someone as cold as him would comfort me gently, saying he'd bring me a gift when he returned. Sometimes it was local snacks, sometimes rare artifacts. For so many years, he never forgot that promise. I used to think that was his special affection for me, that he must like me a little. But I was delusional. Shen Xingzhou was just extremely trustworthy. He'd never shown me any other kind of affection. But it was different with Fang Wen. He not only let her live in the Shen mansion but also took care of all her daily needs. He even spoke to her extra gently. In the dream, Shen Xingzhou had fallen in love with Fang Wen at first sight, and that was completely true. The next day, as soon as I arrived at the academy, Li Shu leaned over and whispered in my ear, "He's coming back, after school, come with me to pick out clothes." He referred to Li Shu's fiancé, General Jiang the Younger. I rolled my eyes at her. Even if you wore a sack, he'd clap and say you look beautiful. Li Shu's face turned red, and she punched me playfully. Wow, truly the future general's wife. That punch almost knocked the wind out of me. Amidst our laughter, the bell rang. Signaling the start of class, I looked up and happened to lock eyes with Shen Xingzhou. Oh no, why was he here? Was being grand tutor so free? Master Wang is ill, so I'll be taking his classes these few days. Shen Xingzhou looked away and said briefly, "Once, I'd looked forward to him teaching us more than anything, but now, I felt like sitting on pins and needles." Hearing him cough a few more times, I couldn't help feeling a little worried, but then I thought, Fang Wen would take good care of him. I shouldn't meddle. After finishing his lecture, Shen Xingzhou posed a question. Heavy rains have been continuous lately, and the Yellow River is at risk of flooding. If that happens, what strategies do you have to control the water and stabilize the people? The students spoke freely, and then Shen Xingzhou told us to write an essay on the topic. I buried my head in writing, not daring to look up. A faint scent of cedar filled my nose as Shen Xingzhou walked to my side. He leaned down to look at my paper and said softly, "Your calligraphy has improved a lot, But controlling floods can't rely solely on strengthening dikes. I still didn't look up. Thank you for your guidance, sir. He fell silent again, then pointed to a character on my paper. That's wrong, he said. Finally, the school day ended. As I walked out of the classroom, I saw Shen Xingzhou waiting outside with an umbrella. The students hadn't had enough of his lecture and were gathered around him, asking questions non-stop. At that moment, Shen Xingzhou spotted me and walked over. You rode a horse to the academy today. It's raining, come back with me in my carriage, he said. Everyone fell silent. My heart thumped wildly. He'd asked me to go back with him before, and I'd never thought anything of it. But now I was nervous, because I saw Fang Wn walking toward us with an umbrella. My lord. Fang Wn called out softly, what are you doing here? I was bored at home. I've long heard of the Imperial Academy's reputation. My lord, could you show me around the academy? As they spoke, Shen Xingzhou's expression was normal, but Fang Wan's tone and mannerisms suggested she was very familiar with him. I didn't want to get involved, so I excused myself and left with Li Shu. Footsteps sounded behind us, and the scent of cedar drifted over. If you're going to the market, come with me, Shen Xingzhou called out. Your mother asked me to take care of you. I should see you safely home. Fang Wn followed too. Shen Xingzhou was polite to her. It's pouring rain, Miss Fang. You'd better stay at home and rest. Fang Wn seemed not to understand the hint in his words. I haven't had a chance to explore the capital since I arrived. What a coincidence, let's go together. She looked excited. Shen Xingzhou said nothing more. Li Shu and I took the Li family's carriage. Fang Wn rode in the Shen family's carriage, and Shen Xingzhou held an umbrella while riding my small horse. The largest clothing store in the capital not only had exquisite and luxurious clothes but also a tea room on the second floor where you could rest if you got tired of shopping. Li Shu was busy choosing clothes, while I sat on the second floor drinking tea. Raindrops pattered against the bamboo curtain outside the window. I was lost in thought when Shen Xingzhou sat down beside me. Sir, I greeted him politely and poured him a cup of tea. He took the teacup and glanced at me. Why are you unhappy? Don't you like the porcelain doll? I shook my head. I liked it very much, but my liking was untimely. Shen Xingzhou looked apologetic. My words last night were too harsh. Your essay was actually very good. I was being overly critical. I was just angry that you said you were in a hurry to. He didn't finish his sentence, because Fang Wn ran over, lifting her skirt. My lord, do you think this is a good location for my medical clinic? As soon as she arrived, she sat on the same bench as Shen Xingzhou, leaning close to him. Look, that's the shop over there. Fang Wn pointed to the street outside the window. The sight stung my eyes, but I had no right to criticize her, so I hung my head and drank my tea silently. To my surprise, Shen Xingzhou stood up quickly, avoiding Fang Wan's proximity. Yes, it's up to you to decide, he said. So he was helping Fang Wn open a medical clinic. He was so kind to her. Lost in my thoughts, I suddenly heard Shen Xingzhou coughing violently. I stood up instinctively, wanting to support him, but Fang Wn moved faster. She even smiled at me. Let me help. I know the Lord's condition best. I brought medicine. Was she declaring her ownership? My chest felt stuffy. I didn't look at Shen Xingzhou again and went straight downstairs. Li Shu was frowning at two flowing fairy dresses. When she saw me, she put her hands on her hips. I asked you to help me choose, but instead you hid upstairs drinking tea. I quickly pushed aside my sadness and helped her pick out clothes. Hey, could it be that you're jealous because of Miss Fang? Li Shu whispered. I didn't dare to be jealous. They were the hero and heroine of the novel. Seeing that I didn't answer, Li Shu pouted. You're upset for no reason when you don't even know what's going on. If I were you, I'd ask Shen Xingzhou what he really thinks. Li Shu's words made my heart waver. She was right, I should ask him. But even if I did, it would be useless. The prophecies in the dream had already matched reality. For example, Fang Wn curing the old lady's leg, and her medical skills being highly praised in the capital. I didn't dwell on it for long. Soon, something happened that made me completely believe in the dream. Her Royal Highness the eldest princess has arrived. A luxurious carriage stopped in front of the clothing store. When we heard that the eldest princess had arrived, we all bowed in greeting. The eldest princess was nearly 40 years old and deeply in love with her consort. She had no children of her own and was very tolerant and gentle towards young people like us. The princess hadn't come to choose clothes, she just stopped by to pick up a custom-made outfit. She had a private room here, so we wouldn't disturb her. After an incense stick's time, Li Shu finally chose her clothes. As the maid was wrapping them up, we suddenly heard a loud commotion from the princess's private room. "Send for a doctor." A eunuch rushed out in panic, shouting. Before we could react, Fang Wn had already volunteered to enter the princess's room. After a moment, the commotion died down. Later, we learned that the princess had accidentally choked on a grape. She had almost fainted but was saved by Fang Wn. When the princess left, she greatly praised Fang Wn and asked where she was staying now. "Your Royal Highness, this commoner is currently staying at Lord Shen's mansion," Fang Wn replied. Shen Xingzhou and Fang Wn stood before the princess like a perfect couple. The princess nodded repeatedly. "I owe you my life today. I have no children. Would you be willing to be my daughter?" When I heard the princess's words, all thoughts of asking Shen Xingzhou his true feelings vanished. After all, everything was following the plot of my dream. There was no need for me to ask for trouble. The princess and her entourage left in a grand procession. Fang Wn said she would visit the princess the next day. We also prepared to leave. Li Shu was about to say something when she looked up and exclaimed, "Jiang Chen." There, standing at the door, was Li Shu's fiancé, the young General Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen was still wearing his armor, looking dusty and weary. He grinned. "Oshu, I'm back." With that, he stepped forward and hugged Li Shu. "As soon as I got back, I went to find you. When I heard you were here, I rushed over." Li Shu's eyes turned red, glistening with tears, and her face flushed bright red. "So many people are watching." Standing aside, I couldn't help but feel happy for my good friend Li Shu, who looked utterly blissful. True love was obvious at a glance. Jiang Chen had rushed to see Li Shu as soon as he returned. As for Shen Xingzhou, I had to invite him before he would agree to meet me. Enough, I didn't need to ask. The result was already clear. While the lovers reunited, Fang Wn suddenly spoke up, breaking the tender moment. "General, you've been poisoned," she said. Jiang Chen looked at her in confusion. When Li Shu heard that Jiang Chen might be poisoned, she quickly introduced Fang Wn to him. "This is Divine Physician Fang," Li Shu said. Her face filled with worry. "Please help Jiang Chen." Divine Physician Fang. Fang Wn didn't hesitate. She asked Jiang Chen a few questions. It turned out that during his recent mission to suppress bandits, Jiang Chen had indeed been wounded by a poisoned arrow. The wound on his back still hadn't fully healed. Fang Wn smiled. "It's not a powerful poison, but the process of removing it is tedious." In short, Fang Wn would need to perform acupuncture on Jiang Chen for 7 consecutive days to draw out the poison. Truly the female lead, nothing could defeat her. I felt a surge of admiration for Fang Wn, thinking about myself. I realized I should also study hard to become someone as talented and capable as her. It was an unusually lively day. Lu Yi, one of Jiang Chen's colleagues, had come along too, a young prodigy from a military family. He looked imposing in his armor. "Jiang Chen, you've seen your beloved. Shouldn't you go back to rest now?" Lu Yi joked. As they talked, Jiang Chen introduced Lu Yi to us. Lu Yi's gaze swept over the group, finally settling on me with a smile. "Miss Luo, long time no see." I remembered now he had visited my home with his parents before, but since Lu Yi was always away fighting wars, we didn't see each other often, so I didn't know him well. "Hello, General Lu." I greeted him politely and properly. Lu Yi winked. "I'm a rough man. Miss, you can just call me Lu Yi if you like." Having accepted the reality, I focused all my energy on studying hard. When Shen Xingzhou taught class, I listened attentively, never glancing at him more than necessary or saying a word extra. Lu Yi followed Jiang Chen around. When Jiang Chen went to see Li Shu, Lu Yi would come talk to me. After a few days, we became much more familiar. The weather was too hot, so the academy gave us a holiday. Our group planned to stay at a small mountain courtyard to escape the summer heat. The mountain courtyard was a garden funded by several noble families in the capital, with the Li family contributing the most. It was mainly used for summer retreats. We can hunt at the mountain courtyard. How about I teach you to ride a horse? Lu Yi asked excitedly. Shun Xingzhou had already taught me how to ride a long time ago. When I shook my head, Lu Yi's enthusiasm didn't fade. I'll teach you to hunt rabbits and eagles instead, we talked animatedly. But half of my attention was on Li Shu, who was walking ahead. Something had been off about Li Shu these past few days. Like now, even though Jiang Chen was talking to her, she was distracted and unresponsive, as if she had a lot on her mind. Jiang Chen stopped walking. Oshu, if something's bothering you, tell me. I can't guess. Unlike Shun Xingzhou's indifference, Jiang Chen had a bit of a childish streak. Seeing that he couldn't cheer Li Shu up, he frowned. Fine. If I'm annoying you, I'll leave. And with that, Jiang Chen turned around and left. Lu Yi didn't feel right staying behind, so he chased after him. Before leaving, he placed a pair of butterfly hairpins in my hand. I saw these on the way and thought they'd suit you, so I bought them, he said. Lu Yi didn't give me a chance to refuse before running off, holding the butterfly hairpins. I was about to catch up to Li Shu when I heard someone calling my name from behind. Qingzi. It was Shun Xingzhou. I bowed, and when I looked up, I saw Shun Xingzhou's gaze fixed on the butterfly hairpins. Suddenly, the hairpins felt burning hot in my hand. I quickly hid them behind my back. Do you need something, sir? Shun Xingzhou's expression was calm, giving no hint of his mood. I'll resume my court duties tomorrow, so I won't be able to go to the mountain courtyard with you, he said. I didn't know how to respond. Ever since he'd become an official, he'd never had time to play around with me. He'd only visit me at the courtyard occasionally during his days off. I see, I said, lowering my head, noticing that his coughing had improved these past few days. I couldn't help but ask, are you fully recovered, sir? Shun Xingzhou fell silent for a moment. Once the poison is completely cleared, I'll be fine. I looked up in surprise. You were poisoned too? Yes, that's why I was late for our meeting the other day, fortunately. You didn't go. I would have hated for you to wait in vain. A wave of guilt washed over me, leaving me flustered. Shun Xingzhou didn't dwell on the subject. Instead, he asked, do you like the butterfly hairpins? They were a gift from someone else, so I didn't want to say anything bad about them behind their back. So I nodded. They're nice, very pretty. Shun Xingzhou lowered his eyelashes, hiding his emotions. So Lu Yi is also a candidate for your husband. Before I could make sense of Shun Xingzhou's words, I saw Li Shu suddenly covering her face and crying. I hurried over to hug her, forgetting everything else. What's wrong? Tell me, I urged, but Li Shu refused to say anything. That night, I stayed at Li Shu's house. I heard her muttering in her sleep and then watched as she woke up, tears streaming down her face. All she said to me was, do you believe in fate? Before pulling the covers over her head. What was going on? I could only sit helplessly beside Li Shu. A strange thought popped into my head. Could it be that Li Shu had also had a strange prophetic dream? Surely that was just a coincidence. In my dream, there had been no mention of Li Shu at all. Finally, the next day arrived, and I went to the mountain courtyard with Li Shu. When we got off the carriage, we found that Jiang Chen and Lu Yi had already arrived. There were also many other noble young men and women in the garden. And behind Jiang Chen and Lu Yi stood Fang Dubuan. Of course, now that she was the eldest princess's adopted daughter and lived in the princess's mansion, all she had to do was ask to come to the mountain courtyard to escape the heat. She seemed to be on familiar terms with Jiang Chen, chatting and laughing with him. Li Shu's expression darkened. When Jiang Chen noticed us, he ran over with a smile. Oshu, you're finally here. Li Shu forced a faint smile. Jiang Chen didn't notice anything was wrong. He continued, what do you want to do? I'll accompany you. Fang Dubuan followed them. I'm not familiar with this place. I hope Miss Li and Miss Luo can show me around. Li Shu had always been polite to everyone, and she responded appropriately to Fang Dubuan. Of course, we'll show you around later, she said. Jiang Chen smiled. Oshu is going to stay with me. Miss Fang, I'll take you for a walk later instead. His words sounded odd. But Jiang Chen didn't notice Li Shu's growing anger. He just kept grinning foolishly. Li Heng patted Jiang Chen on the shoulder. Brother Jiang, you can leave that to the garden stewards. You've been away so long, you should spend more time with my sister. Only then did Jiang Chen stop smiling and glance cautiously at Li Shu. We walked around the garden, and by the time we finished, the sky was getting dark. Fang Wn was even more popular than I'd thought. Many young lords greeted her along the way. A light rain fell, and then the sky cleared again. Lu Yi invited me to go fishing, but I declined. Li Heng gave me a bag of fireflies. In the end, I sat alone on a swing under a willow tree, releasing the fireflies. The glowing insects swirled around me, creating a beautiful scene. Someone approached holding a lantern. When I looked up, I saw Shen Xingzhou's handsome face. I stood up in surprise. "Why are you here?" Before I could finish my question, Shen Xingzhou spoke first. "There's something I need to clarify. I can't rest easy until I do. Are you in such a hurry to get married?" I wasn't in a hurry at all. Shen Xingzhou was probably worried that I'd neglect my studies for marriage. I was still trying to figure out how to answer when he asked again. "Did you come here to get to know Li Heng and Lu Yi better?" His words made me a little angry. "Yes, I am. Now leave me alone. I don't want you to ruin my chance to meet handsome young men," I snapped, but my wrist was suddenly clamped in his grip. By the lantern light, I saw a suspicious flush creep up Shen Xingzhou's ears. "If they're good enough for you, then why not me?" I froze on the spot. Shen Xingzhou tightened his grip, not letting go of my wrist. "This is the question that has been troubling me, keeping me awake day and night. You've been deliberately avoiding me these past few days. Have you made up your mind that you have no romantic feelings for me, or did I do something wrong?" By the end of his words, his eyes were slightly red, a rare moment of vulnerability. His confession hit me like a bolt of lightning, leaving me stunned and disbelieving. You love me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Yes, I love you." Shen Xingzhou replied firmly. "No, this wasn't right. This wasn't how it had happened in my dream." My heart was filled with joy, confusion, and a deep fear of that terrible nightmare. The vivid images of my family's tragic death flashed before my eyes. Terrified, I pulled my hand out of his grip. The moment I pulled away, Shen Xingzhou's face turned deathly pale. A sudden downpour began to fall. Shen Xingzhou opened his umbrella and held it over my head. "It's raining. Even if you don't like me, please bear with it for a moment. Let me take you back." I hurried to explain. "That's not it. I don't like either Li Heng or Lu Yi. There are some questions I want to ask you too." Shen Xingzhou nodded. He tilted the umbrella fully toward me, so I pulled him closer a little to share the shelter. "What are your feelings for Miss Fang Wn?" Now it was Shen Xingzhou's turn to look surprised. "Everyone in the capital knows she saved my life. Naturally. I regard her as my benefactor, nothing more than that." I pressed. "Nothing more. I originally wanted to reward her with money and silk, but she refused it all. She only said she wanted to open a medical clinic in the capital, so I brought her here. When she stayed at the Shen Mansion, she lived in my mother's courtyard. The last time we met at the Imperial Academy, she had sneaked in using my token without permission, considering she once helped me. I didn't want to embarrass her publicly by exposing it. After that day, I asked her to move out of the Shen Mansion. That's when she went to the princess's mansion." Shen Xingzhou spoke clearly, word by word, with no attempt to hide anything. "Finally," he said, "when I returned to the capital, there was still residual poison in my body, so I couldn't come to see you immediately." Yet he had still gone to our appointment when he received my invitation. My nose felt sour, and my vision blurred with tears. Shen Xingzhou held the umbrella in one hand and the lantern in the other, flusteredly wiping my tears away. "Don't cry. Seeing you unhappy these past few days has already broken my heart. If my words made you cry, I truly don't deserve forgiveness. Since we grew up, he rarely spoke to me so gently. He always maintained an official, distant demeanor." I sniffled. "Then you really won't hurt me for Miss Fang Wn?" Shen Xingzhou's eyes widened suddenly. Clearly, this question struck him as absurd. "How could I? I have never compared any other woman to you in my heart. You are the only one I love." Damn it, I must be love-struck, because upon hearing Shen Xingzhou's words, all my fears vanished instantly. I even wanted to tell him about my dream, and that's exactly what I did. I briefly recounted the entire dream to Shen Xingzhou. He fell silent for a moment, then his face darkened. Gone was the gentle elder brother from moments ago. He was once again the cold-faced grand tutor. So you avoided me because of a dream? His voice trembled, clearly furious. Tears still clung to my cheeks, but my sadness was replaced by embarrassment. Oh no, Shenxingzhou must think I'm utterly foolish. A sigh came from above me. Shenxingzhou's voice softened. Very well, it's my fault for not making my feelings clear earlier, which led to your misunderstanding. First, I only love you. Second, you should think, in your dream, the crime I falsely accused the Luo family of was colluding with foreign enemies. But your father serves as the Minister of Agriculture. How could he possibly commit such a crime? Besides, why would you ever do those terrible things? With the misunderstanding cleared up, I didn't dare meet Shenxingzhou's gaze. He tucked a strand of loose hair behind my ear. In the future, tell me everything that troubles you. Bottling it up isn't good. If I hadn't come here today, would you really have avoided me for the rest of your life? Shenxingzhou's voice sounded hurt. He forced a small smile. I'll see you back. When we reached my residence in the garden, Shenxingzhou didn't go further. I'll come visit you again during my day off. Also, stay away from that divine physician Fang. There's something odd about her. I nodded to show I understood, then took a few steps forward. Gathering my courage, I turned back and hugged Shenxingzhou around the waist. Goodbye. The dark cloud hanging over my heart lifted completely. I hummed a tune softly as I entered my small building. I was sharing the room with Li Shu. After a maid brought water for me to wash up, I tiptoed into the bedroom. Lifting the curtain to get into bed, I was met with Li Shu's tear-filled eyes. She lay on her side, tears streaming silently from her cheeks onto the pillow. My dear Oshu. What on earth is wrong? Seeing my good friend so heartbroken, the little joy I had felt earlier disappeared. I climbed into bed, hugged Li Shu around the waist, and comforted her. Tell me what's wrong. There's always a way to fix things. Li Shu's unfocused gaze fell on my face. I heard her mumble through her tears. What do you think of how Jiang Chen treats that divine physician Fang? Li Shu and I always told each other the truth, so I replied honestly, they seem quite familiar. After all, Miss Fang is treating Jiang Chen's poison with acupuncture. It's not surprising they've grown close. Li Shu's voice was hoarse. As they grow closer day by day, they'll fall in love, just like in my dream. Jiang Chen will betray me. Upon hearing this, a sense of déjà vu washed over me. I interrupted her hastily. Don't tell me, you dreamed that we're actually in a book, and in that book, Jiang Chen is the male lead, but you're the vicious female antagonist. Li Shu stopped crying. She stared at me blankly and nodded. How did you know? Oh, I knew all too well. I continued. You'll resent Fang Wn because Jiang Chen falls for her, and you'll do things to hurt her. Then Jiang Chen will avenge her and take ruthless revenge on the Li family. How could you possibly know that? Li Shu sat up abruptly, looking completely astonished. I gestured for my friend to be quiet and said slowly, word by word, because I had a similar dream. I then briefly told Li Shu about my own dream. One person having such a dream might be a coincidence, but two people having nearly identical dreams, that was far too strange. I had just cleared up my misunderstanding with Shenxingzhou. He had said he loved me, and his words had seemed sincere, so these dreams couldn't be trusted. Li Shu wiped her tears. What if we take these dreams seriously out of fear of endangering our families? What then? Naturally, we'd stay away from our loved ones and find other suitable marriages. Who would benefit from that? Li Shu asked again. Fang Wn, I replied, uncertain. But who could guarantee that the men we loved would definitely fall for her? Li Shu's expression turned grave. You might not know this, but the divine physician Fang was recommended to the emperor by the eldest princess. She cured the emperor's chronic headache. Rumor has it the emperor intends to confer the title of princess on her. These dreams are a mix of truth and falsehood, reality and illusion. I almost fell for it, no matter how you look at it. There's something suspicious about Miss Fang. We had to investigate. Following Li Shu's suggestion, we resolved to uncover Fang Wan's true background. Over the next few days, we pretended to get along harmoniously with Fang Wn on the surface while secretly observing her for any odd behavior. I hadn't noticed it before, but once I paid attention, I realized Fang Wn was extremely skilled at socializing. Before I knew it, She had befriended most of the noble young men and women. Some had even subtly expressed their affection for her, but that alone didn't prove anything. Li Shu told Jiang Chen everything, making it clear that she didn't like her fiancé being so close to Fang Wn. At first, Jiang Chen laughed and teased Li Shu for being jealous. But when he saw how firm her attitude was, his smile faded. He said solemnly, "Very well, I understand." However, this promise didn't last long. One day, Fang Wn accidentally fell into the water. At the time, Jiang Chen was boating on the lake with Li Shu, picking lotus flowers. Seeing what happened, Jiang Chen didn't hesitate for a moment. He jumped into the water to save her. After pulling Fang Wn ashore, Jiang Chen was too busy carrying her to find a doctor and comforting her gently to pay any attention to Li Shu beside him. It wasn't until Fang Wn was out of danger that Jiang Chen finally came to his senses and tried to explain something to Li Shu, but Li Shu had a temper too. She turned around and left without giving him a chance to speak. I was about to chase after her when I heard Jiang Chen mutter, "It's a matter of life and death, yet Oshu only cares about being jealous. Could it be, everything in the dream is true?" I sensed something unusual. I took a few steps forward, blocking Jiang Chen's path. "Speak clearly, what's true or false?" Jiang Chen tried to brush it off at first, but I refused to let him avoid the question. He frowned and said seriously, "You won't believe me if I tell you, but I've been having prophetic dreams lately. In the dreams, Oshu's personality changes drastically. She ends up harming others and herself, and I wasn't the least bit surprised by his words. In fact, I scoffed. "I'm sure there's more you're not telling me. In the dream, you eventually choose to spend your life with Fang Wn. She becomes a virtuous wife who helps you rise to great heights, doesn't she?" Jiang Chen fell silent, but from the way he avoided my gaze, I knew I had guessed correctly. I suddenly understood the anger Shen Xingzhou had felt when he learned I had avoided him because of a dream. I snorted coldly, "You've known Oshu for years. Don't you know what a proud person she is? How could she be like the person in your dream? I'm so disappointed in you. Jiang Chen, if you can't figure this out, don't go near Oshu again." Jiang Chen panicked. He finally stopped being evasive and hastily said, "I never thought about leaving her. I thought the dream was a prophecy. If Oshu really does change, I still want to save it for later. Let me ask you, when did you start having these dreams?" Jiang Chen concentrated for a moment, then replied, "The night I returned to the capital." I didn't listen to any more of his explanations. I turned around and went to find Li Shu directly. Naturally, I didn't hide anything about Jiang Chen from my good friend. Ultimately, the choice of what to do was Li Shu's alone. Jiang Chen had started having his prophetic dream the night he returned to the capital. According to Shen Xingzhou, that was the same night he had asked Fang Wn to move out of the Shen mansion. Does that mean Fang Wn had turned her attention to Jiang Chen after realizing she couldn't manipulate Shen Xingzhou? Li Shu thought this was quite possible. As for how Fang Wn was able to plant dreams in people's minds, we couldn't figure it out no matter how hard we tried. Investigating Fang Wan's background turned out to be surprisingly easy. During his day off, Shen Xingzhou came to the mountain courtyard again and told us everything he had uncovered, down to the smallest detail. Fang Wn had originally been a farmer's daughter from Qingping village. Her parents had died when she was young, leaving her an orphan. She had lived a very hard life, barely surviving with the help of her neighbors. A year ago, Fang Wn had suddenly, as if enlightened, mastered the art of traditional Chinese medicine. At first, the villagers didn't believe her, but after she cured several people with a few herbal remedies, they gradually came to trust her medical skills. Fang Wn then began practicing medicine everywhere, gaining fame in the villages and towns. Shortly after that, Shen Xingzhou was ambushed by bandits and left unconscious in the mountains, where Fang Wn had rescued him. It seems too much of a coincidence. Shen Xingzhou voiced his doubts. The poison I was poisoned with came from the western regions, yet she somehow had the antidote. I found her suspicious even then, but I didn't expose her on the spot. I thought she might be an imposter sent by the enemy, but after testing her several times, I realized she seemed more interested in me than in any malicious plot. When Shen Xingzhou said this, his face turned slightly pink. He opened his mouth as if to explain that he had no romantic interest in her. I nodded, gesturing for him to continue. Shen Xingzhou went on. Once I realized she had ulterior motives, I bought her a shop and asked her to move out, now that she's the eldest princess's adopted daughter and has gained the emperor's favor. It's possible she'll be conferred the title of princess. Perhaps this Fang Wn is not the real Fang Wn. She may have been replaced by someone else long ago, and all this person's schemes are for wealth and glory. The three of us exchanged glances. Now that Fang Wan had achieved wealth and status, what would she do next? A month later, we returned to the academy. Fang Wan had gone back to the capital a few days ahead of us. By the time our group arrived, she had already been officially conferred the title of Princess Qinghe by the emperor, who had also specially granted her a mansion. The exam for selecting female officials was drawing near. Li Shu and I focused all our energy on studying, putting aside matters concerning Fang Wan. Still, news of her kept reaching our ears. Either she had cured another noble, or she had won first place at a poetry gathering, earning the title of the most talented woman in the capital. Fang Wan was at the height of her fame. Who in the capital did not know Princess Qinghe Fang Wan? With her unparalleled beauty and extraordinary intelligence, she truly seemed like the female lead of the dream now. Among those fawning over Fang Wan was Jiang Chen. Learning that Fang Wan would also take the female official exam, Jiang Chen kindly warned Li Shu and me, "Wana will definitely outshine both of you. You'd better not go take the exam and humiliate yourselves." Li Shu had no desire to speak to Jiang Chen at all. I was so angry I wanted to punch him, but unfortunately, I wasn't strong enough. Fang Wan watched the farce with amusement. Seeing me gnash my teeth in anger, she said casually, "Jiang Chen, opportunities are equal. Speaking like this will make the two young ladies unhappy." Jiang Chen scoffed, "I'm just stating the facts. Don't waste your energy struggling pointlessly." Fang Wan smiled and said to me, "Jiang Chen is just straightforward. Please don't take it to heart." Bullshit. I restrained myself from slapping her and left with Li Shu. On the eve of the exam, I had another strange dream. This time, in the dream, Fang Wan passed the female official exam with flying colors, while I was far inferior to her. Shen Xingzhou held my paper and compared it to Fang Wan's, saying coldly, "Luo Qingzi, you're not even worthy to lick Fang Wan's boots. How dare you dream of becoming a female official? Save your breath. You'll never surpass Fang Wan in this lifetime." If Li Shu and I hadn't already cleared up our misunderstandings with our respective lovers, Shen Xingzhou's cold tone and indifferent expression would have dealt me a heavy blow. As it was, I walked up and slapped the Shen Xingzhou in the dream twice. Of course, I didn't let the Fang Wan watching from the side off the hook either. I woke up feeling refreshed, only to see that Li Shu was also awake. We exchanged a glance. Instantly guessing what kind of dream the other had just had, Li Shu sneered, "Even if this is just one of her petty tricks, even if I'm destined to fail the exam and live a miserable life, I will fight for the truth." I felt exactly the same way. On the day of the exam, Prince Qi personally came to see Fang Wan off. Prince Qi was the emperor's youngest brother and was much beloved by him. Rumors circulated in the capital that numerous nobles had fallen at Fang Wan's feet. It seemed the rumors were true. Shen Xingzhou did not accompany me to the exam venue. As one of the examiners, he would not be free until all the papers had been reviewed. The female official exam was no different from the imperial examination for men. After the exam, the examiners began reviewing the papers in earnest. Li Shu and I waited anxiously for the day the results would be announced. Seeing me nervous every day, my mother comforted me. "My daughter is so intelligent. You will definitely pass." "What if I don't?" I asked, worried. "It's okay, we can try again next time," she replied gently. With my mother's consolation, much of my anxiety faded. After days of anxious waiting, the results were finally posted. A total of 100 female officials were recruited in this exam. Li Shu and I scanned the list from the bottom up, checking each name carefully. Suddenly, my eyes lit up. Luo Qingzi, 64th place. Li Shu also found her name and smiled. Li Shu, 31st place. We were both overjoyed at being admitted. At that moment, someone beside us sighed in admiration. As expected of the princess, the most talented woman in the capital, topping the list, Li Shu and I exchanged a glance. Sure enough, the first name on the list was Fang Wn. Could she really be the female lead of this world? So what if she was? Even as so-called supporting characters, we had our own lives to live. We didn't exist merely to serve the female lead. Although my ranking wasn't particularly high, I was still over the moon. When I returned home, I found Shen Xingzhou waiting for me. He had just come from the Hanwen Pavilion and had come to see me without resting. Learning of my ranking, Shen Xingzhou first congratulated me, then asked if I wanted to go to the temple to fulfill my vow. He had accompanied me there before to pray to the Buddha for blessings. Seeing Shen Xingzhou after so many days, I had a lot to say to him, so I readily agreed. After fulfilling our vow at the temple, we walked to the ancient tree in the courtyard. The towering tree was covered with red ribbons inscribed with wishes. As I passed by, Shen Xingzhou brushed the ribbons aside with one hand and held a bunch of rock sugar hawthorns I had bought with the other. Now that your wish has been granted, may I go to your house to propose marriage? His sudden question left me staring at him in shock. Shen Xingzhou shook his head, half amused. Very well, I see you've long forgotten about this. Once before, when I asked you about marriage, you insisted that one should establish a career before starting a family, so I waited for you to pass the female official exam. Do you have another change of heart now? I felt embarrassed. That had been 4 or 5 years ago. At that time, Shen Xingzhou had passed the imperial examination with flying colors, and many people had wanted to arrange marriages for him. I had been so anxious that I had lectured him like an old woman. You haven't even achieved anything yet, and you're already thinking about marrying a wife. Aren't you ashamed? Thinking about it now, I wanted to crawl into a hole. Then come propose, I mumbled, lowering my head in shyness. What? Shen Xingzhou asked. Feigning deafness, I stamped my foot. Snatching the rock sugar hawthorns from his hand. I want you to propose. Now, immediately, right away. Seeing that I was annoyed, Shen Xingzhou apologized softly, but the corners of his mouth were lifted high in a smile. Just like when we were children, he loved teasing me. Bring back my cold and aloof grand tutor. The next day, the Shen family came to propose marriage. Both of Shen Xingzhou's parents were present, and they had invited a renowned scholar from the capital to act as the matchmaker. Our two families had been friends for generations. My parents had long regarded Shen Xingzhou, their nephew, as their own child, so they readily agreed to the marriage. Everything went smoothly. Soon, I also received my official appointment as a member of the Ministry of Works. Li Shu and Fang Wn were both assigned to the Ministry of Revenue. With numerous concubines and palace maids in the imperial harem, the palace needed to be expanded. I was responsible for surveying and recording data. These tasks seemed simple but were actually tedious and complicated. However, I had always wanted to make a career for myself, so I didn't find it tiring. The expansion of the palace was overseen by Prince Qi. Sometimes Fang Wn would come to visit Prince Qi but would insist on dragging me along as company. Over time, this not only delayed my work but also sparked rumors that Prince Qi was in love with me. Ridiculous. Li Shu sometimes complained to me that she and Fang Wn were assigned to handle registration work together, but because Fang Wn had Prince Qi's protection, she would only come to check in briefly each day before disappearing to enjoy herself, leaving Li Shu to do all the work alone. No one dared to say anything about it. Prince Qi clearly had feelings for Fang Wn, yet he made no attempt to clarify the rumors. Sometimes he even went out of his way to get too close to me. Once, when I was handing over survey data to Prince Qi, he suddenly said out of the blue, "Why not become my concubine? It would be better than running around all day." Ridiculous. New Year's Eve arrived before long. The emperor hosted a feast for all officials, and naturally, the female officials staying in the capital were also invited. Halfway through the feast, Fang Wn performed a dance that captivated everyone, earning thunderous applause. The emperor was delighted and asked what reward she desired. Fang Wn hesitated for a moment, then said, "I am already favored by your majesty. What more could I want? I only wish to bring happiness to others. I have heard that Prince Qi has taken a fancy to the Luo family's daughter." Might I ask your majesty to bestow a marriage between them? How interesting. It seemed Fang Wn would not rest until she had broken up Shen Xingzhou and me. At that moment, Prince Qi knelt down and said, "It is true that I have fallen in love with the eldest daughter of the Luo family." I walked forward slowly, preparing to bow, when Shen Xingzhou also stepped beside me and knelt down with me. "Your majesty is wise. Luo Qingzi and I are already betrothed." With both the engagement letter and betrothal gifts prepared, Shen Xingzhou said. After he finished speaking, Fang Wn looked shocked. "Then why did Miss Luo write a letter pouring out her heartfelt affection to Prince Qi? Miss Luo, how can you be so unfaithful to Lord Shen?" Prince Qi also put on an angry expression, taking out the so-called love letter. "Your love letter is still here. Are they out of their minds?" I glanced at Shen Xingzhou instinctively, only to see him smile down at me, gesturing for me not to panic. How could I not panic? Even if the emperor didn't bestow me upon Prince Qi today, my reputation would be ruined. How would I ever get promoted then? The so-called love letter was indeed in my handwriting, but I had never written it. Shen Xingzhou didn't even glance at it. He only asked Prince Qi when he had received the letter. Prince Qi stated a time, and Shen Xingzhou shook his head. "Your Highness must be mistaken." At that time, Qingzi had just finished work, and I personally escorted her home. "I did not see her give this to your Highness." Prince Qi snorted, claiming he had misremembered, and stated another time. Shen Xingzhou shook his head again. "Your Highness holds an important position and must be present at all times to supervise the palace construction. How is it that you do not know that a worker fell and was injured at that time, and Qingzi sent someone to take him to the medical clinic? When would she have had time to write a love letter?" Having said that, Shen Xingzhou did not wish to entangle himself with them further. He turned to the emperor and said, "Your Majesty, please see clearly. My fiancé and I share a deep bond. I trust she would never do such a thing." Fang Wn reacted quickly. She smiled and tried to smooth things over. "Oh, I must have been mistaken." Shen Xingzhou glared at her. "Then I urge the princess to think clearly before speaking in the future. Do not accept 10,000 taels of silver from someone only to appoint them to a 7th-rank official position." His words seemed unrelated, but they made the emperor jolt in surprise. His face darkened as he pressed. "You may both rise." "Minister Shen, what are you talking about?" Shen Xingzhou helped me up, taking out an account book from his sleeve. "Your Majesty, please examine this." When Fang Wn saw the account book, her face turned deathly pale. The emperor flipped through it briefly, his eyebrows furrowing in anger. His eyes almost seemed to shoot fire. "Trading official positions. How dare you be so bold?" With that, he threw the account book at Fang Wan's face. "See for yourself." Fang Wn was terrified, quickly kneeling down. "Your Majesty, I am innocent." Later, we learned that the account book recorded how much silver Fang Wn had accepted from various people and what official positions she had promised to arrange for them. Fang Wn tried to defend herself, but Jiang Chen had already brought witnesses and was waiting nearby. Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows at Li Shu as if asking for credit, but she ignored him. The emperor ordered a thorough investigation. For some reason, Fang Wn confessed to everything. Taking advantage of the emperor's favor and the eldest princess's protection, she had meddled in the appointment and dismissal of officials. She couldn't control the appointment of high-ranking officials, but she could manipulate the positions of minor officials in border towns. The incident implicated many local officials. The New Year's Eve feast ended on a sour note, but I was overjoyed on the way back because Shen Xingzhou had promised to take me to set off fireworks. As the fireworks bloomed in the sky, Shen Xingzhou suddenly asked, "If I hadn't been here, how would you have proven your innocence?" I thought for a moment. It's actually quite simple. The ink used in that love letter has a distinctive fragrance. It's a tribute ink that I could never have access to. Shen Xingzhou finally smiled, handing me a firework stick. "You're quite clever. There will be many troubles in officialdom in the future. When I'm not around, you must navigate them on your own." The trial of Fang Wan's bribery case concluded 2 days later. Fang Wan was sentenced to be beheaded. The local officials involved were either executed or punished accordingly. Although Fang Wan never mentioned Prince Qi, the emperor still ordered him to return to his fiefdom. It seemed like everything had been resolved perfectly. But we all felt that Fang Wan's death would not be so simple. Sure enough, on the day of her execution, she was rescued. The emperor was furious but failed to track her down. With this matter settled for the time being, Shen Xingzhou and I got married. Lu Yi and Li Heng both attended our wedding feast. Jiang Chen, who had acted as an undercover agent beside Fang Wn for too long, was deeply resented by Li Shu. After attending my wedding, a war broke out on the border, and Jiang Chen was ordered to march there. No one knew when he would return. In the end, the matter between him and Oshu was for them to decide. 5 years later, the emperor fell seriously ill, and Prince Qi rebelled. The rebel army suddenly emerged, advancing aggressively, but in just half a month, the rebellion was successfully suppressed. Shen Xingzhou had long suspected Prince Qi of harboring traitorous intentions and had kept a close eye on him. The emperor, out of brotherly affection, had hesitated to take action. Once Prince Qi rebelled, the emperor showed no mercy. Lu Yi and Li Heng led the suppression army to capture Prince Qi alive, along with the long-missing Fang Wn. It was Prince Qi who had sent people to rescue her back then. Fang Wn had also been advising Prince Qi in his fiefdom. When she was captured, it was said that Fang Wn had gone mad, screaming hysterically, "Impossible! How could you possibly defeat my artillery?" The artillery she spoke of was indeed powerful, but the weapon was extremely expensive to manufacture, so Prince Qi had not been able to produce many. I thought her defeat was due to Prince Qi's poverty. This also confirmed that Fang Wn was truly not from our world. When she was escorted back to the capital, I went to see her. After 5 years, I had been promoted to Vice Minister of Works, dressed in a bright red official robe. I looked at the once unrivaled most talented woman in the capital with a smile. She was still beautiful. "You are nothing but a spoiled wife in a sweet romance novel. How dare you step on me?" She gritted her teeth. If it weren't for the prison bars, I suspected she would have pounced to bite me. So our world was indeed a sweet romance novel, just with 2 pairs of protagonists, Shen Xingzhou and me, Jiang Chen and Li Shu. Fang Wan's mission had been to drive a wedge between the protagonists and win the love of all the male leads. "Wait a minute," I said, still smiling. "What does it matter to you whether I'm a spoiled wife or not? You failed to become an object of admiration in this world. So you tried to support Prince Qi to overthrow everything and make yourself the female lead. How ridiculous. It's still better than you," she retorted. "Born an official's daughter, you can only rely on your husband's power after marriage. I only lost because I didn't have a childhood sweetheart who's a grand tutor. You have no shame." My smile faded. "Without your so-called system, you would have neither medical skills nor talent. Everything I have achieved today is through my own efforts." When Jiang Chen was undercover beside Fang Wan, he had learned that she possessed a system. Those strange dreams we had were all the system's doing. At the time, we didn't know what system meant. Jiang Chen had scratched his head in confusion and explained, "Just think of it as Fang Wan having divine assistance, an invisible force helping her. The poems that made you famous overnight, the essays you wrote for the exam. You plagiarized them all, and you still have the audacity to argue." Enraged, Fang Wan reached through the gaps in the prison bars, trying to scratch me. I dodged nimbly. "Oh, you missed. Aren't you angry?" People like Fang Wan were simply insatiable. Too bad I was just a vicious supporting character. But now, let her and her system die in this world together. Losing interest in questioning her further, I walked out of the prison. Shen Xingzhou was waiting outside the yamen holding our daughter. Seeing me come out, he tilted his sunshade umbrella toward me. "Let's go home. I truly admire you even on your day off. You still have to handle official business." I chuckled. "It's nothing. I'm planning to get another promotion." It's a pity Fang Wan is in no state to tell me the formula for the artillery. Shen Xingzhou shrugged indifferently. "We can experiment with the remaining materials. Maybe we can develop something even better." The shadows of our family of 3 stretched long under the sun. Another year passed, the emperor passed away, and the crown prince ascended the throne. Shen Xingzhou was promoted to Grand Secretary of the Cabinet. Li Heng and Lu Yi, having made meritorious contributions in suppressing the rebellion, were conferred the titles of Marquis of Nguer and Marquis of Changding. Li Shu was transferred to Minister of Revenue. Jiang Chen became a flying cavalry general, stationed at the border. Why was I still Vice Minister of Works, Grand Secretary? Can you get me a promotion? Shen Xingzhou took off his official robe and draped it over my shoulders. Here, at home, you are the Grand Secretary. Before I could react, Shen Xingzhou kissed me on the lips. My lord, please cherish me. The moon rose above the willow trees, and the night fell quiet. Blushing, I tangled myself with Shen Xingzhou. Suddenly, I recalled the years ago when I was plagued by nightmares, thinking I was the vicious supporting character. Back then, I could never have imagined that years later, I would have such a complete and happy life. Whether we are vicious supporting characters or protagonists, we all deserve to live our lives brilliantly.